Some games are so unforgettable that once you finish them, you can't help but wish you can go back to that first playthrough, experiencing every twist, every discovery, and every emotional gut punch for the very first time again. We actually wanted to make this list a lot shorter, but honestly, there are just too many peak games out there. Even narrowing it down to 31 still leaves plenty of amazing titles unmentioned. This is Caleb from Cubo Gaming, and today we're counting down 31 games we wish we could erase our memories just to play again. Bugsnax looks like a quirky, lighthearted adventure, but beneath the surface it offers a surprising amount of charm and emotional weight. The colorful island filled with snack-like creatures is fun to explore, and capturing Bugsnax with clever traps and tools never loses its novelty. The game also has a goofy sense of humor that makes you smile more than you'd probably expect. At the same time, though, there are layers of mystery running under everything, which keeps you wondering what's really going on with the island. When I first played it, I really didn't think it would have all that much substance to it, but it ended up sticking with me more than I expected. It's a kind of game where the less you know, the better. That mix of charm and curiosity makes it one of those experiences you'd want to go back and experience fresh. In Sound Mind is one of those underappreciated gems in the psychological horror genre. Each chapter dives into the minds of different characters, with levels shaped by their fears and traumas. This approach keeps the gameplay fresh and the environments unpredictable. I remember being surprised at how creative the level design was. One moment, you're exploring a flooded supermarket, and the next, you're in a surreal apartment complex that feels like it's alive. It constantly plays with your expectations, which is why it stands out. If you've never played it, going in blind is the best way to enjoy it. If you have, it's one of those games you wish you could see again without knowing what's around the corner. Undertale is famous for how it takes traditional RPG mechanics and flips them on their head. Choices matter in a way you don't usually see in games, and the characters you meet along the way feel like friends you won't forget. The humor is great, but what really surprised me was how emotional it got. There are moments that feel silly one second and deeply heartfelt the next, and that contrast is what makes the game so powerful. I went in thinking it would just be a quirky indie RPG, and I left with one of my favorite gaming experiences ever. That first playthrough, where you don't know what your decisions are going to mean, is unforgettable. It's a game that truly rewards going in blind. OMORI starts off as a quirky RPG with a surreal, dreamlike style. But as the story unfolds, it becomes clear that there's something much deeper going on. The contrast between its cheerful aesthetic and its darker undertones hits pretty hard. OMORI is really one of those games where the less you know, the more impactful it becomes. Every time the tone shifts, it makes you stop and think about what you've just experienced. It's not just a game, really it's a story that lingers with you long after you put the controller down. If I could play it again without knowing the turns it takes, I'd jump back in right away. Little Nightmares thrives on atmosphere. The eerie environments, the grotesque enemies, and the unsettling sound design makes it feel like you're trapped inside a dark fairy tale. Playing as 6 and sneaking through those massive nightmarish spaces was tense from start to finish. What really stood out to me was how the game says so much without any words. The story is told entirely through its visuals and environments, and that makes every discovery feel really personal. I'll never forget the first time I walked into a new room, unsure of what terrifying figure might be waiting. That mix of curiosity and dread is what makes Little Nightmare such a standout experience. Inside is short, but really, it's unforgettable. The oppressive atmosphere, the smooth puzzle platforming, and the way it communicates everything without dialogue make it a masterclass in minimalist storytelling. The game builds tension perfectly, with each section more unsettling than the last. I'll never forget the unease I felt as I pushed deeper into the world, always wondering what disturbing thing was waiting for me. It's one of those games where every moment feels deliberate, and playing it without knowing what's coming makes it all the more impactful. Oxenfree blends supernatural mystery with a teen drama in a way that really feels incredibly natural. The dialogue system makes conversations flow like real speech, which helps you feel immersed in the group dynamic. Exploring the island while uncovering its strange phenomena was such a unique experience. I still remember the first time I realized how much my choices were shaping the story. It felt personal in a way most games don't. The soundtrack and art style also give it this moody, dreamlike vibe that really just sticks with you. It's one of those stories that works best when you don't know what's coming, which is why it's such a strong pick for this list. Hollow Knight is one of the most impressive indie games of all time. Its vast, interconnected world feels alive, full of secrets and hidden paths, and exploring it for the first time felt like uncovering a mysterious labyrinth that never stopped surprising me. The combat is really tough, but honestly, it's fair, and every boss fight feels like a real accomplishment when you beat them. The music and the art direction just make the world more immersive. There's something so magical about walking into a new area and realizing just how big this game really is. It's an experience that rewards curiosity and persistence, and the first playthrough is always the most special. Subnautica is a survival game, but it's so much more than that. The first time you dive into its alien ocean, it feels full of wonder and beauty, but the deeper you go, the more you realize just how dangerous the world really is. The first encounter with something massive in the dark depths is something I'll never forget. The mix of awe and fear is what makes Subnautica stand out from other survival games. It nails that balance of beauty and terror. It's also a game where every new discovery feels earned, which is why going in blind is really the best way to play. Firewatch is slower, more narrative driven, but it's one that left a huge impact on me. You play as Henry, a fire lookout in Wyoming wilderness, and your only real connection is through radio chats with your supervisor, Delilah. The conversations feel so natural that you really kind of forget you're playing a game. Exploring the wilderness while balancing mystery, personal storytelling was such a refreshing experience. I remember being so drawn into the atmosphere that I lost track of time. It's a game about people as much as it is mystery, and the first playthrough is one that hits the hardest. Journey is a game I think everyone should try at least once. It tells a powerful story without using a single word, relying on its art style, music, and gameplay to make you feel something truly profound. The most memorable part for me was encountering another player along the way. Without any form of chat, just moving together and helping each other felt surprisingly powerful. It's such a simple mechanic, but it makes the game incredibly moving. That sense of companionship is something that's hard to describe unless you've felt it yourself, which is why the first playthrough is unforgettable. The 2015 reboot of Tomb Raider gave us a new, grounded take on Lara Croft. Watching her evolve from a vulnerable survivor into a capable adventurer was inspiring, and the cinematic presentation made it feel like I was playing an action movie. What stood out to me was how tense the game felt, especially the first time I played it. Every fight, every climb, every puzzle had me fully engaged because I didn't know what was coming next. That sense of danger and growth is what made the reboot so exciting. Experiencing it for the first time really just made it all that much more impactful. Uncharted 4 was a perfect conclusion to the Nathan Drake story. The balance between blockbuster set pieces and quieter, character-driven moments made it honestly unforgettable. It felt like both a thrilling adventure and really a heartfelt goodbye. What I loved was how the game never let up. One moment you're scaling cliffs, and the next you're in an emotional conversation that just deepens your connection to the characters. It felt like living inside an adventure film. That mix of adrenaline and intimacy is why Uncharted 4 is the kind of game you'd want to play again fresh. Marvel's Spider-Man is simply fun in a way that few games are. Swinging through New York feels so natural and exhilarating that I'd sometimes ignore the missions just to explore the city. It really nails the superhero gameplay perfectly. The story also really captured me. It had humor, it had drama, and the heart that Spider-Man is really just known for. And I found myself caring about the characters too. The combination of gameplay and narrative was exactly what I wanted. I just can't help but to want to feel that sense of freedom for the first time again. Alan Wake 2 leaned fully into survival horror, and it made the experience even more gripping. The dual perspectives kept the story unpredictable, and the creepy atmosphere had me on edge the entire time. What I really loved was how it blurred the line between reality and fiction. The sense of unease never really let up, and it kept me guessing where the story would go next. Playing it blind was genuinely tense in a way that stuck with me. If I could, I'd forget everything and go back into its dark, twisted world again. Inscryption is hard to explain without spoiling, and that's what makes it so great. On the surface, it's a card game, but the more you play, the more you realize it's something much bigger and stranger. I remember the first time I played it, I was constantly second guessing myself. Was I just playing a card game, or was something else going on? And that feeling of uncertainty is what makes it unforgettable. It's kind of a game that thrives on the surprise element, and the first playthrough is absolutely the best way to experience it. Knights of the Old Republic is still one of the greatest Star Wars games ever made, arguably the best. It lets you shape your path as a Jedi or Sith, and the choices you make truly matter. I loved how much freedom it gave me. The first time I played it, I found myself agonizing over decisions because I knew they would affect the story. That kind of weight is rare, and it makes Knights of the Old Republic unforgettable. With the remake reportedly in the works, it's exciting to think about a new generation experiencing that story for the first time. But obviously, nothing beats the first playthrough. Half-Life 2 changed what I thought shooters could be. The physics-based puzzles, the gravity gun, and the immersive world building made it unlike anything else at the time. I'll never forget the Ravenholm section. That atmosphere had me genuinely tense. It's one of those games that just sticks with you because it was so ahead of its time. Reliving those groundbreaking moments without knowing what's coming next would just be amazing. Resident Evil 4 Remake is a masterclass in how to modernize a classic. It keeps the original's intensity while upgrading virtually everything from visuals to gameplay. The tension of managing resources while dealing with relentless enemies is unmatched. I love everything about this game. The story, the weird Resident Evil vibe, every encounter felt like life or death. It reminded me of why the originals were so beloved. I wish I can relive that experience again for the first time. Silent Hill 2 is also considered one of the best psychological horror games ever, and the remake gives it a modern coat of paint while keeping the unsettling core intact. The atmosphere is suffocating in the best way, and it pulls you deep into its world. What's striking about it is how personal it feels. The horror isn't just about monsters, it's about emotion and meaning, and that's what makes it so impactful. It's the kind of experience you only get once, and that's why it's so easy to wish you can go back and play it again without memory. Prey is one of my favorite immersive sims because of how much freedom it gives you. Every obstacle feels like it has multiple solutions, and it really encourages you to experiment constantly. Exploring the space station while dealing with its alien threats kept me hooked the whole way through. I especially loved the tension of not knowing what was real. Enemies that could disguise themselves as everyday objects kept me second-guessing everything I saw. That first playthrough sense of paranoia is something you just can't get back once you know the trick. Shadow of the Colossus is simple in premise, but emotionally powerful in its execution. Facing off against massive creatures across a lonely landscape feels epic and personal all at once. Each battle feels like a puzzle as much as it does a fight, and every victory is bittersweet. What amazed me was the scale of it all. The first time I climbed a Colossus, I was blown away by the sense of size and weight. It felt like nothing else I'd played before. It's a game that sticks with you, and it's one I'd love to go through again as if it were brand new. Portal 2 is one of the smartest games ever made. The puzzles are clever, the mechanics constantly evolve, and the humor is spot on. It's a game that makes you feel smart when you solve something, but also constantly surprises you with its creativity. I'll never forget the first time I figured out a tricky solution, and I felt like a genius, only to immediately be stumped by the next room. That balance kept me hooked the entire time. It's witty, inventive, and endlessly entertaining. Experiencing those puzzles, and especially the story, without knowing the answers again would just be incredible. Red Dead Redemption 2 is one of the most detailed and immersive games I've ever played. Its world feels alive in a way few games can really match, from the weather to the NPCs to the way your horse behaves in both the summer and the winter, for those who know. Riding through the countryside at sunset felt like stepping into a painting. The story also floored me. It's not just about cowboys and outlaws, it's about people trying to find their place in a changing world. That mix of personal and great storytelling made it unforgettable. It's a game you really only get to truly experience once, and that's what makes it so special. Outer Wilds is built entirely around discovery. The time loop mechanic means you're constantly learning something new each cycle, and every revelation feels monumental. It's one of the most unique and rewarding games I've ever played. What made it so powerful for me was the sense of wonder. Every planet had its own mystery, and piecing it all together felt magical. I'll never forget the moment when everything finally clicked. The first playthrough is unrepeatable, which is why Outer Wilds is the definition of a game you'd wish to forget and play again. Elden Ring takes everything From Software is known for and expands it into a massive open world. The freedom to explore, the variety of bosses, and the depth of the lore make it one of the most impressive games of the decade. The first time I ventured into a new area and found something completely unexpected, I felt that classic sense of discovery that's really so rare in modern gaming. The challenge and reward loop was just perfect. It's an experience that does lose some of that magic once you know the world, which is why I wish I could play it again without remembering it. The Last of Us is a masterclass in storytelling, which is why it's my personal favorite game of all time. The relationship between Joel and Ellie, combined with the tense gameplay, makes for one of the most emotional experiences in gaming. It's cinematic without losing what makes games special. What stuck with me was how human it felt. The quiet moments hit just as hard as the intense ones, and I would find myself completely pulled into the entire story and journey. The ending is the best part of this game, and I wish I could just experience it all again without knowing a single thing. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is one of the newer games on the list, but it's already made a lasting impression. Its unique blend of turn-based and real-time combat feels fresh and new, and the story about resisting a cycle of erasure is both emotional and thought-provoking. The world design and art direction are just breathtaking, and it's a game that really pulls you into its setting from the first moment. Each battle feels dramatic, but the heart of the experience lies in its narrative. It's a story that makes you reflect while also keeping you hooked with its gameplay. It's rare for a game this new to feel so timeless, and that's why I'd love to experience this game with no memory of my first playthrough. Stray is one of those games that immediately captures your attention because of its premise. You're literally a cat exploring a futuristic, decaying city. That simple concept turns something far more heartfelt than you might expect. The atmosphere of the neon streets and the quiet companionships you form along the way make the journey surprisingly emotional. I remember being completely caught off guard by how much personality the world had, even though you never really exchange a single word with most of the inhabitants. The first time I played it, I found myself slowing down just to take in the sights and the sounds and the atmosphere. It's short, but it makes a huge impact, and getting to experience the story and the characters and especially the ending again without remembering would just be amazing. BioShock is legendary for a reason. The City of Rapture is one of the most iconic settings in all of gaming, both beautiful and terrifying. The atmosphere is so thick that even just walking down a hallway feels like an event. When I first played it, I was completely drawn into its world. Every new area revealed more about the city's strange philosophies and the downfall of its people. It's rare to see a game combine settings, gameplay, and storytelling this seamlessly. The sense of discovery you get while exploring Rapture for the first time is something you can't replicate once you know the city. Not only that, but the twists and the story make this one that you just wish you can forget so you can play it again fresh. SOMA is not just one of the best horror games ever made, it's one of the most thought-provoking games, period. On the surface, it's a sci-fi story set in an underwater facility. But beneath that, it wrestles with questions of consciousness and identity and what it means to be a human. I still remember finishing it and sitting in silence for so long just thinking about what I had just experienced. The scares are, effective, sure, but it's the story and its implications that stay with you. Every now and then, I still think about the horror of this story, even now, and I played this 3, 4, 5 years ago. It doesn't just unsettle you in the moment, it makes you reflect long after you've beat the game. If I could erase one game from my memory just to play it again and feel that impact anew, it would be SOMA. It's haunting, emotional, and truly unforgettable. And that's our list of the 31 games we wish we could erase our memories to play again. From indies to massive open worlds to deeply emotional journeys, each of these games left a mark that's hard to shake. But now I want to hear from you. What's the one game you'd love to forget just so you can go back and experience it like new? Let me know down in the comments, and if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss future uploads. Thanks for watching everyone, and I'll see you in the next one.